Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey. And I guess if you're watching on YouTube, you can see there's another guy in the video as well.
And my intern.
Yep, Jeff's intern, James, is
The
sitting
Windy
in.
City kid.
He's listening in as he's doing a draft. So maybe he'll have some pointers as well. But today we're going to talk about free agent acquisition budget waivers, or FAAB waivers, however you want to call it, which is, if you don't have FAAB waivers in your league, please get your league to change to this. It is by far the best system. That's what we've really tried to talk about this year in leading up to the season, is basically the best way to draft, the best way to play fantasy football. It's auction drafts and it's FAAB budget. There's nothing better than FAAB budget in the season, because just like that kind of setup, auction and then FAAB, you literally control your whole season. You control everything. You're not just, set with, okay, I have the 7th pick and this is all I can get, or I have the 8th waiver claim, so I have no chance at some guy that comes available. With FAAB budget, you can basically get anybody. You just gotta be willing to pay for it, right? So we'll talk a little bit about it. Essentially, if you've never heard of it, if you're doing it for the first time, you will get a budget for the year for free agent pickups. I think the standard is typically around 100, but leagues can go off. The one we're in has 250, so that's the number we're used to. I've seen leagues with 1,000. It can vary. That part really doesn't matter as much as I feel like the actual total. It's more about percentage of what your budget is. If we'll talk about this throughout the season, we'll give out ideas for what to get. We'll give like percentages, right? But either way, you have a certain amount of money. That's all you get for the year to pick up free agents. So, if a guy comes available early on in the year that you think is going to be a league winner type player, you could spend most of your money on it and go after him right away. And then also depends though too on leagues. Before you maybe spend all your money, does your league have $0 pickups available? Do they have $1 pickups available? Or do they have, a lot of leagues will have after the initial waiver claim, it'll be all free agents after that. Personally, I don't like that. I don't know about you, Jeff. I think you guys are the same probably. I like it where it's always auction. It's always the auction waivers. It never goes to all free agency.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I want skin in the game. So if you're willing to put someone on your team, I don't want it to be a free ride. You have to pick someone to kick off. You have to put some money towards it, and it maybe not hurt you depending how you look at it, but you have to. It's a strategy. So you're not kind of like, I'll just take whatever defense I can. I'll take whatever. And also, I don't know if we actually said it, but FAAB is FAAB, and It stands for free agent auction budget, just so in case anyone doesn't know. And the big thing about that as well, the other thing you need to know is I think it's always, but it is a blind auction. So we get in there and say, I want a tight end. And this is where it becomes difficult. It's not the person with the most money necessarily, but you can say, I'm going to spend $30 of my $100 budget, and that's a lot. If someone outspends me by 31, even if that's all they had, then they're going to win the player, and you miss out on that opportunity. So the blind bidding is a huge aspect of it, and that is where it becomes very, very important to make sure you watch your budget and you're only spending on guys you believe in. But yeah, that becomes really, really fun, especially early on. And when Craig talks about these big guys that can really turn your season, and like last year, Craig had who was your guy? It was Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah.
So and we all of us saw how well that turned out, and he was very big on, I'm going to use a giant chunk of my FAAB budget early on, and if this bites me, it bites me. But running back is very difficult to come by. So there's a lot of strategy behind it. Sometimes it works out, sometimes not. Or you can just use a dollar at a time and get a new defense, a new tight end. So
honestly, I've looked at it. I remember we had an episode about that last year where I just said you just spend the money on it, because I've looked at the history for the few years before that, and to be honest, there weren't really, like, you're saving that money sometimes throughout the year for something that never comes, and it doesn't usually. Most of the good pickups end up being like picked up maybe a week or two before they even blow up, to be honest. So you never get a big chance to spend a lot of money. So if it presents itself like Elijah Mitchell last year, you go after it. He was a good one. He did get hurt, so it wasn't like it wasn't. It wasn't, that one wasn't like a slam dunk. It wasn't
perfect, but it did work out. It gave you a running back one for multiple weeks when
I didn't feel like that money was wasted because nothing else really came about that would have changed anything. But if you're going to do it, if your league's going to set this up, if this is the waivers you're going to do, yeah, I think you just have a couple waiver periods and you don't ever let it go to just straight up free agency either. Because personally, I don't like it to be the person who sees the news or hears the news and has the ability to jump on the app quickest gets the player. I hate that.
I hate that too. I despise that one. I think it's really, really dumb, first of all.
Yeah.
And, it really is just whoever has more time in the middle of the day.
Yeah. I mean, if that's what our league was set up like, I mean, it would be terrible because if we had set up like the standard ESPN setup where you have waivers and they go at like 4:30 in the morning on Tuesday or Wednesday morning, I'd be setting an alarm for 4:30 in the morning personally. And that's a problem. And I don't want to do that. So thank God we don't do it because I know I would do it. I would do it 100%.
I'll be honest, doing the FAAB budget with the, having a precise time that it goes through, whether it be like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. But that does make that day so much more exciting because you're sitting there waiting for it. It comes true. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, now I have to set my lineup or I missed it. And you get to see who outbid you, how much. And, the whole time you're talking and you're trying to figure out too, the person you're playing against, which is, some of the most fun thing, right? You're crap talking, you do all that. But maybe later on in the season when they're streaming quarterbacks or something, they need one. And you're willing to spend a little extra money to take the better one because it will take the advantage away. All of a sudden, you're playing defense with that FAAB money rather than anything else. So I think it is, and I realize that regular waivers does have some of that same kind of fun, but not nearly at the same level. And if you first got into auction because we talked about how fun it is, FAAB budget is along the same lines. It really increases the fun and the strategy of the game, and it's so much more fun for the entire league.
Yep. So the argument usually against just having the waivers continual and not allowing free agent pickups would be like people say about last minute changes, right? If someone's hurt at the last minute, whatever, and if we have that, you're kind of screwed. But in a way, I feel like that you have to plan more. There's more strategy involved. If your guy is a questionable tag going into the weekend, going into Sunday, if like in our league, we changed our time now to be at noon on Sunday. So we will know the early games if someone's active or inactive before our final waivers, but we won't know the 4 o'clock. If we won't know the Sunday night and we won't know the Monday night. They're definitely strategy. You have to really plan that. You're taking a big chance sometimes if you have a guy who's really questionable and he's your only player. Like if he's your only quarterback and he's questionable, you have to go pick up another one and you have to probably release some or spend some money. And you can't just wait until the inactive tag comes. You have to plan it earlier. So again, it just brings more strategy involved, right? But you're in control the whole time. That's what I love about it. It's not just luck of the draw. Oh, I got first waiver. So, if this guy comes up, we got like one of the best waiver pickups this week, and whoever has the first waiver gets it in those other leagues. I hate that. Let's make them go spend 90% of your budget. That's how it should be.
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise you're just kind of waiting around. Like you have that number one waiver and you don't want to get anyone, and that's not fun either.
Yeah, no. All right, so there we go. That's about all I got for this one today. It's just planned. We'll have a lot more on free agent auction budget as the season goes on. We'll talk every week when waivers come out. We've talked waivers in the past and just players, but we'll be talking percentages and how much should you put towards this guy. It's a little bit more, strategy involved now than just, oh, this guy's good. Maybe pick him up if you want. So it'll all be about how much money to spend and like that. So, all right, unless you guys got anything more, I'm good to go. Nothing from the silent person.
We won't pay him the first year, but after this,
if you're listening if you're just listening to the podcast, there's no one there really. He doesn't exist. So
I just want a co-host that's just a mime. That'd be great.
Right. There we go. All right. That'll do it for today. Talk to you guys next time.